Hello and welcome back to another episode of Speculative Dude Presents. I'm your host, Speculative Dude. Now, we're going to be continuing our series of racing movies today with a very popular movie from Hong Kong called Legend of Speed. Now, from what I know about this movie, the main character, Iken Cheng, was very much wanted to make this movie. I guess he felt it meant a lot to him, and it comes off in most ways pretty well. His character, he plays a character named Sky, who is a rich young man, kind of arrogant, more than a little bit cocky, who pretty much, you get the feeling that he thinks that he can do whatever he wants because his mom is rich and very well connected. And throughout the movie you see several times that she does in fact keep him out of trouble a good chunk of the time. Now, putting that aside, there is a lot of racing in this movie. I debated whether or not I would call it a racing movie, but considering most of the conflict and resolution comes through racing, I figured it makes more sense to put it through there. Let's see. As you're going through this movie, you'll notice he has himself surrounded by a lot of people, most of whom, honestly, they kind of kiss his butt. They really, they schmooze up to him because he throws money around. And again, like I said, his mom's rich, very well connected. He passes money out like it's candy. He drives. I don't know how the export laws were between Japan and China as far as cars go in the late 90s. This movie was made in 1999, but he drives a Mitsubishi Evolution. I believe it's a 5 or a 6. I'm not 100% on that. From what I can tell, though, they were not exactly easy to come by outside of Japan, even across Asia. They didn't even come here to America until 2003. So, like I said, take that for what you will. I think that just goes to showing that he's connected and can get his hands on stuff that most people can't. He's, like I said, he's surrounded by himself by a bunch of people who, like I said, really kiss his butt. They suck up to him. At one point, when there's a guy who comes across, and I'll get to this in the plot summary, comes across as a better racer, one of them jumps ship, and only to come back at the end of the movie. And I don't know if it comes off as a good redemption moment for the other character or not, but it just goes to show that you have to question how deep some of their loyalty is because of his money. Now, let's see. There's a lot of, as with a lot of Asian movies, I mentioned this in one of my posts on YouTube about a completely different movie, is that this happens a lot of times, especially with the Chinese movies. Now, again, I'm sure there are plenty of movies that may not do this, but this is just something that I've noticed, that the movies will have a ton of really good drama, but the racing itself is usually not that great. And when I say not that great, usually it comes down to camera angles and certain aspects of visuals. Like the racing itself may be okay, but like I said, it's not. And again, maybe it's that the drama is so good it makes the mediocre racing look so much worse. But I really can't tell. It's hard to tell. It's like, okay, is the racing really that bad, or is it just that the drama is so good it makes the racing look that much worse? That's pretty much up for anyone to debate whether or not they think that. This is definitely one of those movies that falls under that trope. And the problem with that, for me personally, is that the director, I'm forgetting the director's name right now, but was obviously a director of dramas and movies where you don't have a lot of vehicle motion. Because when you look at the angles on the racing, they're not very good. You get on a motorcycle, you either get there's actually a couple of motorcycle races in here as well as car races, so it's not just one. They do change it up a little bit, which I think is nice. But you either get a shot of the camera like right here on the hood, showing a close-up of the guy's face where you can't tell what he's doing at all other than crouching down, or a straight-ahead shot where it just looks like he's passing a bunch of people without any effort. Both are just not particular, and the thing is, neither is held for very long, so you don't get to absorb what's going on, and that's sometimes I've noticed movies will do that to cover up the fact that they either don't have very good set pieces or there's not actually that much happening. But I just don't think it comes off well, and here especially there's times where it really comes off poor. But I'll get to that when I talk about the effects in that later. The main plot of the story is you have your main character, Sky. He's got a beautiful girlfriend. You find out, you don't find this out until a little bit later in the movie, but you find out, or I shouldn't say later in the movie, but you don't find it out right away. After his first race, you find this out. That his girlfriend is one of the few people that he actually does genuinely care for. Apparently, he was in a car accident, or motorcycle accident, that put him in the hospital, and she really took care of, again, to keep him out of trouble. His mom obviously bailed him out of trouble, but it's also shown that he accidentally killed a child in this accident. That so it doesn't really affect him as much as you'd think it would, except in that scene where he's in the hospital and he's obviously very depressed, and she helps him get better. She helps restore his I'm not sure what you call it, but basically just emotionally, mentally, while he's healing in the hospital, he needs anybody who's been in an accident or something like that knows that it's not just physical. There's your mindset is also very very much affected, or can be very much affected, and she really clearly helps him get over that. Again, I really wish that they had shown more that he had some regrets about accidentally killing the child, but but it's really only glossed over in that one scene, and the scene is really more a focus on him than anything else. So, and his mother, showing that his mother really, even though she's not what I would call a devoted parent, she does. And what she does, I believe, tries to do to keep the family name clean, and whether it's paying off people, or trying to get lawyer or get her son out of jail, whatever. So I think that it goes to more showing that, again, like I said, disappointing that they don't really show him killing the child affecting him much. That, unfortunately, I think just goes to disappointment. It's like, okay, I get early on he's supposed to be a massive asshole. It's I don't like to call a character that usually, but that really is what he is, and he goes through a huge arc in his character. But at the end of the movie, he is clearly not the same character. So I guess they wanted to show as stark a contrast as they possibly could. So, okay, he's, like I said, he's kind of arrogant, he's kind of an ass at the beginning of the movie. He goes to a motorcycle race. He goes to a race that's just got, it's a car, it's a gathering of people. You see this place later in the movie as well. Actually, a couple of times later in the movie. You see this place. So obviously it's a well-known hangout for people who are racers, and he's made a bet with this other racer. I don't remember what the original bet was, but he says, well, why don't we make it $1 million? The guy's like, I don't have that kind of money. He says, okay, how about instead if I win, I break your knee so you can never drive again? And this is Sky saying this, and at first the guy was like, what? No. Then unfortunately he pulls the coward card, which again, this goes to showing how big a jerk Sky is. He's like, oh, well, if you're too scared to make a bet in front of all these people, so of course, to try and save a little bit of face, the guy says, yeah, okay. Again, as expected, Sky wins the race. It's a motorcycle race. And sure enough, he breaks the guy's knee. Actually, interestingly enough, he first gives the option. A couple of the people around him. There's one person who doesn't kiss his butt, and that's Pandy, his mechanic, who actually clearly has something mentally and physically wrong with him. They don't ever say what it is. I would guess possibly a version or something similar to cerebral palsy. I had an older brother who had cerebral palsy, much more severe, but I mean it runs the gamut from being nearly physically, all right, just it's mild, to being very severe. My brother was in a wheelchair. He couldn't think. Pandy is more on the higher functioning level, but he's I guess you could say he's a savant in that he knows cars. He understands cars and engines, and he's Sky's mechanic. And he tries to tell him, don't break his knee, don't do that. And this guy's like, here, you do it. He's like, no, I'm not gonna. Pandy, like I said, is one of the few people who doesn't, just suck up to Sky. I think he looks at Sky, interestingly enough, and I think Sky, oddly enough, he's one of the people I think Sky actually has a little bit of respect for because of his skill. Pandy looks at Sky as a friend, and and doesn't want to see him make a mistake like that. So of course, since Pandy refuses to break his knee, Sky just takes a big spanner and whacks him across the knee. Of course, there's and of course his reputation. Everybody's he knows what he did. You find out very quickly that the man who just lost the race and got his knee broken was the younger brother of a former professional racer, who was in jail for I believe they said it was a bank robbery or something like that back years ago. Essentially he got greedy and wanted more and decided to take part in this and was arrested. He gets out of jail, and first thing he hears is that this arrogant punk has done this to his brother. He's broken his knee. His brother's never going to be able to drive again. His brother's going to be on crutches his whole life. So he challenges Sky. He essentially comes, and it is interesting because it comes down to a rivalry that's been going on for since the early '90s, and that's the WRX STI versus the Mitsubishi Evo. And this other character, he drives an STI. Sky drives the Evo. So that's that was interesting there, and this was back in '99, well before this rivalry came to America. So this was a well-established rivalry internationally. So that's he basically comes to Sky's mechanic shop, which they call it a mechanic shop, but really the only thing people do is hang out all day while you get one or two guys who work on mostly Sky's cars, not really anything else. It's not really a business of any sort. They just basically sit around and tune their own cars. But again, because Sky's mom is rich, that's all he has to do. He doesn't have to get a real job or anything like that. So the guy comes in, the older brother comes in and challenges Sky to basically a revenge race. You get the feeling very early on, almost as soon as you see this guy, that he has absolutely no qualms about hurting other people. Which is not surprising. He is supposed to be the villain character, and since early on, Sky's character is shown to be, someone who's rather arrogant and cocky. They decided to make the villain character that much more, I don't want to use the phrase straight up evil, but that's the way he comes off in contrast. It's like, okay, Sky is an arrogant jerk, but this guy is, rotten to the core. Like I said, as shown by he gets out of jail and, first thing he wants is revenge and all this stuff. So, okay, their race goes off. They start driving, and again, I'll get into the quality of the racing later, but during the race, Sky, they're both racing with their girlfriends in the passenger seat. Interesting, I'm pointing to the right. In an American car, it's actually they're both Japanese cars. Passenger seat's the left side, but they're both driving there, and the other driver pushes Sky's car essentially off an overpass. Now, again, this was, late 90s CGI, and the crash looks awful. Not to mention, pretty much there's no way in the world it would happen the way it's shown on screen. But it's essentially meant to show that, if this crash happens, and Sky's girlfriend dies in the resulting explosion of the car, if Sky lives, then on top of that, while the police are investigating the crash, which his mother's trying quickly to hush up, you find out that the other guy, not only did he make Sky's car crash, but he planted drugs in the car as well. So he's they're going to get Sky thrown in jail, do whatever they can to him. It's not the greatest setup in the world, but it basically, I think it does well in establishing that this guy who was he was riding high, he's his mom's rich, he didn't have a care in the world, and all of a sudden he's set up for this stuff, and boom, he's humbled very quickly. Not only does this guy in the race outrace him clearly, he also like I said, gets his girlfriend killed, plants drugs on him, sends him to jail. All of this in just one night. It's like, this is a blow to this character, and you can see it is well acted. The drama is good. You can see Sky's just stunned beyond belief. And the first thing, of course, he does is ask, how is she? How's his girlfriend? And they have to tell her that she's dead. And that's it's such a blow to him. As a result of the drugs, everything looking so bad for him, his mom suggests that he leave the country to go find his estranged father. Now, it's never really said why his father left, other than, and you don't really know that much about him other than the fact that his father used to be a legendary street racer at one time. It's in a way it's a little stereotypical. It's not really that believable that his father was now he's a street racer, and his father left, so he has to go on a journey to find him. It is forced movie cliches, but it's done on an alright level. When he does find his father, it's never really said why his father left, though it's kind of indicated and hinted at that his father left, honestly, almost because his mother was so successful, he felt, like he couldn't do anything. So, he felt like, the only thing I can do is race, so there's no point in me being here. And again, kind of lame, but alright, whatever. Now he finds his father. He goes to Thailand to find his father. Finds his father eking out a very meager existence. His father's remarried and has another young son, whereas Sky, I believe, is in his early 20s. This young boy is probably maybe around 10, so his father's been gone a while. And his father, like I said, but one difference is his father's very happy. Yeah, his father was married to a rich and successful woman, but he wasn't happy. Now he's in Thailand. He's very simple, living out a very simple life. He gives haircuts. That's what his dad does. His dad's a barber now. But he's very happy. And in a way, it really, shows Sky that everything he thought he was living for, really doesn't mean anything. And you can see, like I said, from starting with his humiliation at the racing to being very humbled now that he finds his dad, in this very simple situation. Now, there was a character that I was avoiding, but at this point, she does need to be addressed, and that is even before Sky's girlfriend died, he was being chased around by a character played by Cecilia Chung, who is actually a very good actress. She's very, very prolific Hong Kong actress and very good. She's been in a couple of my favorite movies, Hong Kong movies, but this was again rather early in her career. She basically was chasing Sky. Now, even though it's clear that she's not in this movie, she's only supposed to be playing a 16-year-old. Also, she's chasing Sky as kind of a teenage puppy love kind of thing. And of course, when his girlfriend dies, she sees that as an opportunity to try and get closer to him. She actually follows him down to Thailand. Basically because you find out that the other guy not only did he humiliate Sky, try and get him arrested, but he's basically doing everything he can to destroy Sky's reputation and everything back in China. And it's to be perfectly honest, he's so over the top evil that it's almost like, okay, this seems too much. Like when he was in Thailand, looking for his father, he sends his younger brother and a bunch of other guys to go try and kill Sky. It's like, wow, okay. this guy's. I mean, I get that there might be people like that in the world, but dang, that's. So putting that putting that aside, she goes down to find out, to explain to Sky that this guy is basically trying to not only take over his little garage, do everything he can to destroy everything that Sky. You get the feeling it's supposed to be everything that Sky built, but Sky didn't really do anything. There's not really much you could say. And at first, Sky was going to, Sky was going to be like, you know what, I think I'm going to stay here and kind of learn from my dad, I've been humbled by this, and which I think, like I said, again, is great for his character, starting off so arrogant and cocky, and now he's a much more humble character. And she comes down and tells him that, tells him what's going on, and he's like, you know what, I can't go back, I can't be that person again. And which I think says something to his character. And at one point, she even offers her body to him, and he's like, no. He's like, one, no, you're too young. He says that. He's like, you're not grown up. You just no. But then it's also you realize that he genuinely did love his girlfriend who died. He's not going to forget her so easily, which again, like I said, is I think good for his character. Right. And he basically seems like he intended to stay down there in Thailand with his father until he gets a message from Pandy saying that this guy basically had come up and not only, and unfortunately this happens often enough in real life, a gut reaction. So because they basically kept saying hey, bring Sky back, I want to race him again, bring him back, the guy and Pandy says no, we're not gonna tell you where he is, we're not gonna call him and ask him to come back. So she's like, fine, you race me. So Pandy says yes, and while Pandy is obviously an excellent mechanic, they've never said anything about him having any particular driving skill. So unfortunately, of course, he races and this guy kills him, just like he runs him off the road, just like he did Sky, tried to kill Sky. Does the exact same thing. I mean, that's his character. He's the bad guy through and through. And they hear about the race. Sky hears about the race down in Thailand just before it happens and flies back. Unfortunately, he gets there after the race is too late, and Pandy's already dead. You see them in the morgue, and him. All the people from the shop, all his friends and that, it's a genuinely sad moment, because he did it thinking that he was trying to defend Sky's honor, and it's almost sad that he did it because Sky wasn't there, and in a way Sky realizes that. He says, if I had been here, this wouldn't have happened. Then they do something which is very I thought it was very good, but they're very amusing, I should say, not necessarily good or bad, but very amusing. And that's that they take a CD that Pandy left before he went off to this race, that shows how to tune up this Evo. And if you look at it, it actually looks like an older style. It looks like an Evo 3 maybe. how to tune this car up to its maximum potential. He wrote all this stuff down, including how to use what, back then we didn't know that much about. We knew it existed, but nobody really talked about using nitrous in street racing that much, at least at the time. It really didn't, a lot of people, I hate to say it, but a lot of people really didn't start using it as much until Fast and Furious came along and they're like, oh, you can do this, Again, I'll do a comparison with Fast and Furious later, but so at this time, not a lot of people thought about using nitrous. And this actually brings me to a big red flag when it comes to movies like this. And this is, he's racing against a guy who has superior racing skills. Not only is he a former professional racer, but in the first race, it was clearly shown that the other guy was a better racer. Sky, now Sky's car is a little bit better than it was before, but he's still up against someone who has superior skills. And in the end, he ends up winning because of the nitrous system that Pandy put together for him. I hate that. I hate it when a character wins because they have access to equipment that someone else didn't have. If you're on an even level, and if you both have nitrous, one of you decides to use it, one of you doesn't, whatever, that's your decision. But if one person has nitrous and the other doesn't, and they win because of it, and it's even shown in the movie, clearly Sky only wins because he has the nitrous. And that frustrates me in any racing movie. It's like, so you didn't win because of your own skill, you won because somebody else built you a part that gave you an advantage. That's not, and again, I know it's street racing, but it's just, that bugs the crud out of me. In my opinion, if you're doing a race, for example, my cars, I'm not going to go out there and race. I have an older 03 WRX. It's good, it's solid, but it could use a lot of work. And I'm not stupid enough to go out there and race brand new STIs and Evos. Granted, I have them constantly trying to get me to race them, but no, I'm not stupid enough because why? I know my car can't keep up with them. They know that. That's the only reason why they're trying to race. We're not on an even keel. They have much better equipment. I'm not going to do that. But no, when you have two cars, one of them has equipment that the other doesn't, and they win because of that, that's not a race. That doesn't look cool. Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's a frustration. And that's not just this movie. There are tons and tons of movies that do it. So, it is frustrating. Overall, this movie, it's not bad by any means, but there are a lot of issues with it. Again, as I said, with the racing, the camera angle does a lot of, hinders it a lot. The camera angles, it's obvious that this director is doesn't know how to shoot sports and auto-related, footage, just because it doesn't come across well at all. Now, again, putting that aside, the cars, when they're there, they look good. The motorcycles look nice, but you can't get good shots of them. And honestly, periodically spliced in, they'll have CGI shots, which are, it's the late 90s. It's very obvious CGI. And so it's, that's a little disappointing. They fall under a big trope, and this is, I hate because it makes me think that the director thought no one would notice that this was happening. And that's that in one shot, this car will be ahead. Next shot, this car's ahead. It's like, it's not shown that they're ever passing each other. It's just, oh, this car's in the lead. No, this car's in the lead. This car's in the lead. This car's in the lead. It's like, did you film these out of sequence? Or did you just edit them together out of sequence and forget to put in a pass? Or it's like, okay, no. It's like, no, you've just been driving down this straight line of road. Oh, they get to this corner, this car's in the lead. It doesn't get passed, but all next, straight away, this car's in the lead. No, that's not how you film a good racing sequence. And also, and again, this is far from the only movie that falls under this trope either, and that is the infinite gears and infinite gas pedal. Which means every time they want to get faster, no matter how fast they're already going, all they have to do is shift, accelerate, shift, accelerate. Apparently this car has 20 or 30 gears. It's like, no, it's like they never downshift, they only upshift. And it's, and apparently there's no floorboard to stop the gas pedal. The gas pedal can always go further. And they shift 30 times to accelerate, and can put their gas pedal apparently through the street. That's how far down it can go. So the so the car can go fast. No, that's just poor video, footage, poor editing. It's just, and it's one of those. The drama is great in this movie, and the racing is just so bad that it's actually really a shame that. I think if they had gotten a better second unit director, to film the car scenes, it could have been, up there. It could, in my opinion, there's an opportunity for it to, in my mind, to have passed One Gone Midnight as my personal favorite racing movie. But as it stands, to me it ends up coming off as mediocre. Great drama, really crappy racing. And it doesn't balance it out for me. That's. I hate to say that, but it is true. Now my next video is, this one's running a little longer than I thought. I was going to put a comparison piece on at the end of this, but I'll save it for next time. My next video will actually be a comparison piece because people are constantly saying that the Fast and the Furious, the first Fast and the Furious movie, ripped this movie off. And there are 3 specific reasons why, and I'll get into those. And I've literally been online and seen quite literally hundreds of posts of people claiming that Fast and Furious ripped this off. And I'll be putting up, I will not be comparing which one I think is better than the other. Alright? Just a note. However, I will be pointing out, trying to debunk those comparisons. There are 3 major comparisons that are often made, and I'll be trying to debunk those 3. Not because I think one is better than the other, just because I don't believe there's nothing similar about these movies. Other than the fact that, they both have racing in them. That's the close, and that's not a reason enough to say a movie is a rip-off of another. Street racing, no. So, like I said, that'll be my next video. Look forward to it. Also next week, coming up, in just a few days, we have, Amazing Spider-Man 2 coming out, so we'll get to look at that. But, until next time, I'm Speculative Dude. That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Speculative Dude, out.